Well, hello everybody. About 4 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't sleep. The neighbor's dog came down and decided to visit with my dog, or dogs, and my cat. He was tormenting my cat. I have my place fenced in so my animals don't run away, and he was chasing my cat around the fence. He couldn't get him, but I don't think he's mean. I think he's a pit bull mix or something. He seems really friendly, but he's always wandering down to my place and winding my guys up. So, anyways, I'm up. Well, I figured I'd tear into this old girl here today. Been having my coffee this morning. Good strong black coffee. It's the only way to go, guys. Anyway, I was having my coffee and figured I'd do a little research on this thing. So, vega stands for star. I did find that out. Now, this was a company, the roots of this company go back to the probably 1830s, from what I've read. And this passed hands a few times, but I think when it really took off was when Oliver Ditson took it over, and it was run out of Boston, Mass. And they were making stuff for a lot of different companies, and they were having companies make stuff for them too. Now, from what I gather, these guys, they actually came up with the first humbucker 20 years before Gibson even called it a humbucker, when Seth Lover made it the first humbucker, supposedly. I don't know, that could be debatable. That's what I read on the internet, so take that for what it is. But I believe this is from the 40s, and they made a lot of these. This is a Vega Commander. That's the model, from what I understand. Now, I believe this is probably mid-40s, maybe post-World War II. And supposedly they made like 40,000 instruments in the 40s. They were selling a lot of instruments, and these were part of the deal. During World War II, they had a shortage of a lot of materials, as did most companies. It was tough for them. So, post-war, that's when stuff started to really flourish for them, because you had a lot of soldiers coming back home. They actually had money in their pockets, and they were buying these things. You had big band. It was huge. They also sold like arch top guitars. These are worth some money. This thing's worth some money. The arch top guitars they made are worth a couple grand easy. So be on the lookout for them. I always thought these were really cheap, and I think if my memory serves me correctly, I think I've walked by at least one Vega arch top guitar, which I thought was just junk. It was in rough shape. That one might haunt me, guys. I don't know. But anyway, I can't dwell on it. So, what happened eventually is the company, this went on, I think Martin ended up buying this company in the 70s. And, I'm not really sure. It just kind of fizzled out over time. I actually think Martin sold it maybe in the 70s or 80s. I'm getting kind of out of my reach here of what I read now, but I think that it read that they were still producing instruments under the name Vega for a while. Maybe it was a Korean company. I could be wrong about that. Okay, that's enough on the history. So last night I thought I was recording and I wasn't. Hit the wrong button, guys, but I tore this apart. This is the back plate that covers everything. So as you can see, let me spin it around so we can get it in the light. That's what she looks like. That's where your volume and tone would go and your pickup. And that's just a ground wire that's hooked to the bridge. This is where your jack goes to plug in your cord. So I tore it all apart and had some issues. The pickup had a wire that was pulled out of it, so we scrapped that. I got a new pickup for it. This one ohmed out about 4.5 ohms. That'll be okay. Now what happened is this brass plate would have held the original pickup, which I have, but it doesn't work. I'm going to keep it though, just for posterity, and put it in the case. But this is how your pickup would be adjusted up and down, similar to modern day pickups with springs or the surgical tube or what have you. But there's got to be a way to mount that on there, and when this is adjusted all the way up, the pickup's still probably that far from the strings. So I'm going to have to make something, maybe a block of wood to shim the pickup up, because there's no way to, this is probably going to be a little hard to see if I can tip it right. There's a notch cut in here where this goes, and there's a little block of wood where it didn't get routed all the way down. There, you can kind of see it now. Sorry about that. Let me stop the camera. So this block of wood will stop that brass plate, which goes across here, from going all the way up. So you're only going to get so much throw out of this as far as the up adjustment. So the pickup will end up being quite low below the string. So I got to make something to compensate and bring that up. So we're going to work on that today, and I got some stuff dug out to wire it up. I couldn't find a piece of paper, so I had to use a piece of wood. But we all know they make paper out of wood, so I think I'm okay. I'm in the green here, but I just sketched out this basic diagram. This would be your pickup. This would be the hot wire. This would be the ground wire. So let's say this will be your volume part. This will be your tone part. So you ground it to the back of the tone part. Then you ground the first lug to the back of the pot. You just bend it over, and then you jump another ground wire to the other pot. I always do that, run one ground from one pot to the other. A lot of diagrams won't tell you to do that. I do it though, just for my own reasons. But then you got a ground that comes from there and goes to the ground of your jack, right? So that's your whole ground system right there. Now your hot wire comes down, it hits this lug. What you're looking at, let me get a potentiometer out. So, sorry about the camera, guys. So when you're looking at a diagram and you see this with 3 lugs, you're looking at the pot like this, the back of the pot. You're not looking at it like this, it's like this. So you got 3 lugs on your pot, and you got 3 lugs on your diagram. Just wanted to clear that up. So your hot wire comes down, hits this first lug, you jump a wire from there to this lug. Now notice these are mirrored, these pots, the way they're looking on the diagram. So your hot wire comes down, you tag it into the volume pot on this lug, jump over to this tone pot on this lug, okay? Your middle lug on this tone pot is going to get a capacitor And I don't have one right out in front of me here, but what a capacitor does, and that capacitor gets soldered to the middle lug, has two legs. One goes to this lug, one goes to the back of the pot. What a capacitor does, it's basically, it's got a, it's like two pieces of wire with a gap in between them, basically. This is just layman's terms. But what it does, what a capacitor does, it will take certain frequencies depending on the value of the cap, and it bleeds it to ground. So when you roll your tone back, it'll get muddy. And when you roll your tone all the way up on 10, it'll get bright and sparkly. And the capacitor determines how much sparkle it's going to get, okay? And there's other factors. The pots have something to do with it too, the values of your pots and whatnot. But we're not going to get down that road right now. This is just a basic one pickup, one volume, one tone. So what's happening when you roll your tone down with that capacitor, as you roll the potentiometer, it's bleeding some of the frequencies off, and that's what makes it sound muddy or really bright and shiny and clean. And middle lug from your volume goes to the tip, which is this on your jack. It'd be this part right here. So you got the tip, and then you got the sleeve. So that's the basic wiring diagram we're going to do with this one. And I got pretty much everything all out and ready to go. But like I said, I need to do something here with this pickup so I'd like to have that adjustable. I think that would be nice. What was in there before was a piece of carpenter's pencil snapped in half and used for a shim, which it's about the right elevation, so I can kind of use that to go by. I can at least set it in there when I put this back in and see what I got to have for some sort of a wooden shim. So that's where we're at on this one right now. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of history on these things. It's kind of neat, really. I mean, this company went through a lot of changes over the years. They made banjos, guitars. I think they even made some mandolins. They made a bunch of these. And some different models too. There's quite a few different Vega lap steels out there. Anyways, it's a really interesting read. If you guys just search Vega musical instruments, Google that. The first place I came to was tons of information about this. Not necessarily just this, but the company and all the history that it went through. Really interesting, and pretty good quality stuff, really. And it depends on who made it, but these guys were really big in New England, Boston area. They sold a lot of instruments. So the next move, I'm going to gather up the rest of the stuff. I got to find a couple more pots, and I got to dig out some capacitors. And I'm going to wire this bad boy up today and get her singing like a bird again. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I got to go get another coffee. I'm getting down on my coffee. And oh, yeah, this too. Just for you guys that are following along. This is the neck that goes to the, what is this thing again? A true tone. The true tone. Sorry about that. I've got it clamped to the bench. It's been here for about 3-4 days now. I got a shim here, and I got a shim under here. And this part, the fretboard extension was warped this way really bad. What I've done is I've wet this fretboard every day with some nice hot water and clamp it right back down on the bench. I took it off this morning and looked at it. And I gotta tell you, she's pretty close to being straight again. Very close. So that's a little trick, guys, and you gotta be real careful doing this, because I gotta get, it's hard to see the gap, but I've bowed this in the opposite direction, and there's not a lot of support here. You got your fretboard, which is thin, and this little wedge, so you have to really be careful about that. That's why I wet it down. I want to try to make that pliable as I can so I don't break nothing. But so far so good, and I've almost got this dead straight. Once I get it straightened out, I'm going to take some really good measurements on the fret slots. And I haven't ordered the fret wire yet, and that's the reason why. I want to get this straightened out, take some good hard measurements, and we're going to refret the neck and then set it back on. But I figured I'd give you a little update on that while it's right here on the bench beside this guy. So, all right, I'm going to get the soldering iron warmed up here in a few minutes and get this thing wired up, and we'll shoot another video and we'll test drive it and see how she goes. All right, guys, hang in there. More to come soon.